Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Eddie here, and this is going to be a video about the upcoming fight this weekend. Who am I talking about? Who's fighting? We have the one and only Shakur Stevenson, who is fighting Oscar Valdez on April 30th, 2022. Woo! So, this fight here is going to be in Las Vegas. And it's going to be the main event. And one of the biggest fights of the month. Well, besides last week we had, who do we have last week? Tyson Fury versus Dylan White, which was a good fight. And I won money on that fight. And let's see here. Before that, we had Sebastian. Was it Sebastian? Sebastian? No. Before that, we had Errol Spence and Ugas. Won money on that. And before that, had Fundora and Eric Lubinson. I won money on that. But this week here, it's Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson. Now, it's going to be a very interesting fight. And I like to look at it from a fresh set of eyes. One of the things that I try not to do is be loyal to any fighter. Because, these fighters, they change. They, who knows? You don't want to, at least I don't want to be, become too trustworthy in a fighter in their skills. I won money off of Oscar Valdez when he fought Burchelt. He was an underdog, and that was pretty easy money for that one. So this fight here, it's Oscar Valdez. He's 31 years old, 30-0, and his last performance was against Robson Consaicao. I forget how you pronounce his name. I think I lost money on that fight with Consaicao. I think I put my money on Robson, and some people say Robson won. I think it was a unanimous decision. So the judges said that Oscar won. So that's what it is. You have 3 judges. Judges aren't perfect. Referees aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. Fighters aren't perfect. Trainers aren't perfect. So stuff happens. Robberies happen. Now, I'm not saying his last fight was a robbery, because usually a robbery would, a robbery could be a split decision or something like that. But who knows what the judges were looking at for his last fight. Now, let's compare that to Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson, he's only 24 years old. He's 17-0. Now, I lost money on his last fight against Jamel Herring. So these two already having something in common, because I lost money on both of their last fights. I put my money on Jamel Herring because it was like plus, what was it? Plus 400, plus 300. It was, nice odds, but again, my motto is I put money on winners. And the reason I put my money on Jamel Herring when he fought Shakur Stevenson is because Jamel Herring had just beat, what's the guy from Britain? Is it Carl Frampton? I think that's the guy's name. He beat Carl Frampton. Yeah, Carl Frampton. He actually knocked him out in the 6th round. And Jamel Herring had a pretty good record. He was 23-3, but the odds said that, there's no way that he was gonna win that fight, and I lost my money. So, long story short, those two have something in common personally for me because I lost money on both of the last fights. And this fight here, the odds are Oscar Valdez is plus 500, Shakur Stevenson minus 800. So that means you would have to put $800 down to get $100 on Shakur Stevenson. And if you put $100 on Oscar Valdez, if you risk $100 and Oscar Valdez won, you get your $100 back, plus you'll get $500 for each $100 that you risk. So that's that with that, the odds right now today, and that's April 27th, 2022. So there's that. So obviously, according to the money, that Oscar Valdez is the underdog in this one here. And one of the things that I look at, I'm not a professional gambler per se. I learn as I go, and losing money, I won my last 3 fights, but that I put money on. The fights with Jamel and Shakur and Carlos Conceição and Oscar Valdez, they were about a year ago or something like that. Not a year ago, but several months ago. So one of the things I'm learning is to, again, have a fresh set of eyes, look at everything from the boxing punches thrown, landed, to common opponents. So one of the things I like to do is, is someone overrated or is someone underrated? And obviously I underrated Shakur Stevenson against Jamel Herring, because Shakur Stevenson just dominated Jamel Herring from the opening bell. That's not what I was expecting. So one of the things, I'm not going to go into my complete breakdown. If you want my complete breakdown, leave a message in the comments or a comment in the comments, and I'll possibly put up a full complete breakdown. I've watched several other predictions on several other channels. Most of them are talking about the Orthodox versus the Southpaw, and they're stating that it's been quite some time since Oscar Valdez fought a Southpaw. But one of the things that I like looking at is common opponents. So Oscar last fight against Carlos Conceição, it wasn't a stellar performance. And one of the things is, on how you grade a fighter, is based on his last performance. But I want to get around to common opponents. Shakur Stevenson, fight before Jamel Herring, fought Jeremiah Nakathila. All right. He beat him unanimously. It was a somewhat boring fight, but Shakur got the job done, and it was a unanimous decision. It wasn't really even close. So, a common opponent between the two, in my from my perspective, is going to be Miguel Berchelt. Now, Miguel Berchelt he's 30 years old, so he's a year younger than Oscar Valdez. And Oscar Valdez knocked out Miguel Berchelt in the 10th round. And this was a fight that Oscar, he had a good performance, really good performance in this fight. But the thing is, let's go back a little bit further, and we'll see that Luis Eduardo Flores knocked out Berchelt in round 1 back in 2014. So off the rip, that's in round 1. Getting knocked out in that round 1 is like, it happens, but it doesn't really happen against a top tier fighter. Generally, yes, shit happens. Remember, Erickson Lubin was knocked out in the first round. He was a top prospect, and he was knocked out in the first round against one of the Charlo brothers. So it does happen, but generally it doesn't happen that much. I mean, getting knocked out in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round is more common if you're going to get knocked out. And in my opinion, you don't get knocked out in the first round because you're coming in like you're antsy, your nerves are up, you're on high alert, you're full of energy. I mean, you're full of energy in the first round if you prepared correctly. You're full of energy, and knockouts, they'll happen, but it may be a flash knockdown that may happen in the first round. But like Teofimo Lopez and George Gambosa's, Teofimo Lopez got knocked down in the first round, but not knocked out. Berchelt got knocked out in the first round. So that says a lot. Something weird about that. But Berchelt, he did go on a long winning streak, long winning streak, and that says a lot about a fighter who gets knocked out in the first round and goes on a long winning streak. They get back up and they keep on fighting like it never really happened. That's hard. That shows a lot of character. But once he got back up to stiffer competition, he has 2 knockouts he got knocked out 2 times in a row. Well, let me rephrase that. Oscar Valdez knocked him out in the 10th round. All right. However, Jeremiah Nakathila retired Berchelt in the 6th round. And again, what I want to talk about, the reason I'm talking about Berchelt and Jeremiah Nakathila is that this is a common opponent. Now, I know it's not exact science, but it's just a way to gauge, is Oscar Valdez being overrated. Being that Berchelt had been knocked out in the first round before, it took Oscar Valdez 10 rounds to knock him out. I think he knocked him down earlier in the fight, if I recall correctly, but he didn't knock him out till the 10th round. Now, Jeremiah Nakathila retired him in the 6th round. So that's a 4-round difference between the two. And Shakur Stevenson beat Jeremiah Nakathila confidently and convincingly. So I think, and I don't believe I'm alone with this, according to the odds, that Oscar Valdez is overrated. But one of the things about it is that Oscar Valdez has he's being trained by Eddie Reynoso. So Eddie Reynoso is like the Bill Belichick with Tom Brady. meaning if that's a football reference. So Eddie Reynoso is a great coach, great trainer, and they are preparing for Shakur Stevenson. And also, you have Canelo Alvarez over in the camp with Oscar Valdez, because Oscar's fight is this weekend, and Canelo's fight against Bivol is next week. I believe on the 7th, sometime in May. I think it's the 7th. So they have been in camp together, and Canelo Alvarez is one of the best boxers on the planet, one of the best boxers on the planet. So you have to take that into consideration. Is Eddie Reynoso going to be prepared and have a game plan that Oscar Valdez is going to follow and beat Shakur Stevenson with? That's a question. That's a question. Now, the reason why I'm reluctant on that is because Oscar Valdez's last fight against Carlos Conceição, or Robson Conceição, I kept saying Carlos, but Robson Conceição, is that he's still training with Eddie Reynoso, and it was a poor performance. I mean, let's look at the. I don't want to go into the. I'll briefly go here, but Valdez did not throw many punches versus Conceição. First round, he only threw 7. He only landed 7 out of 28, where Conceição landed 9 out of 37. Then Conceição landed 14 out of 50, and Valdez only 4 out of 28. And then the third round, Valdez 6 out of 31, and Conceição 13 out of 58. So this pattern pretty much continued. Oscar was in the single digits for most, landing single digit for most of the rounds, except the 6th round. He peaked at the 6th, tied at the 7th, but he only threw 29 punches. But he admitted that wasn't his best performance, but that's what we have to grade him on. It's possible that his peak may be coming down, and the odds are pretty much against or favoring Shakur, negative 800. So for this prediction here, I am going to give a prediction. What's the day? Wednesday. I'm going to give a prediction tomorrow. There's a couple other things I have to look at. I want to check the odds out again. So I'm going to let you all know. And this is, I do value boxing, but I'm not rich. I would probably never minus 800 put my money down on minus 800 for anybody. I don't care if it's motherfucking, I don't give a damn who it is, unless it's motherfucking Tyson Fury against a third grader. That's about the only time I put down on minus 800. I don't do that. So let's see the odds coming up, and then I'll let you know what I'll do. So that's it for today. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them down. Subscribe. I'm trying to get to 20 subscribers. So thank you. Have a great day. I'm out.